Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the program. I'm Armando F. Sanchez, and we're going to look at the importance, the need, and the impact that character and tolerance education can have on students. Today, I'm very honored to have, and I introduce to you, Joan Einstein, who's the chairperson of the Felsenthal Memorial Fund of Character and Tolerance Education in the Long Beach Education Foundation, serving the Long Beach, California School District. Thank you for being on the show, Joan.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Let me share a little bit of background with our audience. She retired from the Long Beach Unified School District after serving several years, primarily in the bilingual classroom. Educated at UCLA and Cal State University Long Beach, which makes her a 49er. She spent a year abroad at the Universidad Complutense in Madrid, in Spain, raised in the Los Angeles area, including Long Beach. She is the second generation Holocaust survivor and daughter of German Jews. Her father, Eric Felsenthal, got out during World War II, and her mother, Ruth Felsenthal, thereafter. Thank you again for being on the program. So let me launch the first question here. What is the Felsenthal Memorial Fund for Character and Tolerance Education, and what is it for?
Well, it's a memorial fund within the larger Long Beach Education Foundation, which is part of Long Beach Unified. It has the broader purpose to honor the memory of my parents by striving to fulfill their hope that we learn how to use what we know to act positively and constructively to reduce social injustice and to create a better world. The funds from the program, the funds will be used to focus on the quality of character and tolerance education in Long Beach Unified. As my mother wrote and recorded in her paperwork at Yad Vashem, this part of history must never be forgotten by humanity. It should be a lesson for all future generations. The historical facts must be made known. The social causes that made them possible must be understood by everyone. Most of all, we must become aware of our own responsibility for what goes on around us. Policies are not preordained by fate. They are made by people, and people can change them. We must not only be aware of social injustice, but use what we know to act positively and constructively.
This may sound like an obvious question, but isn't this automatically part of all the school districts in the nation?
Well, they're supposed to have character education, and that's because we've had a long history of this. Back when Cicero was in the Roman Empire, he said, within the character of the citizen lies the welfare of the nation. We've recognized this throughout time. Horace Mann in the 1840s helped to improve instruction in classrooms nationwide, advocating for character development. And the United States Congress, recognizing the importance of this concept, authorized partnerships in character education program in 1994. The No Child Left Behind Act of 2001 renews and reemphasizes this. It's one of the 6 goals that you have behind you to promote strong character and citizenship among our nation's youth. So you think we have it, but do we have it in terms of quality? I'm shooting for the quality. See it happening better.
You know, there was a link that you shared with me a while back as we were preparing for the show, and it showed that some states, especially in the central north of the United States, don't necessarily have a policy to teach it. Is there a reason for that?
I don't know that I saw a map for character education.
Okay.
Character education is broader, and then tolerance education falls under character education. Character education is the umbrella, and also Holocaust education falls under character education.
You mentioned the Holocaust. What is the Holocaust?
The Holocaust was the systemic state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews, and there were 11 million total, but 6 million Jews, by the Nazi German regime and its allies and collaborators. The Holocaust was an evolving process that took place throughout Europe between 1933 and 1945. Other genocides are not okay either. And I have a link for you about genocides, about which genocides we've had. Actually, I learned that Stalin did worse, but they don't have as much history regarding that. They don't have it written down. A recent audit by ADL reported a 34% increase in anti-Semitic incidents nationwide in 2021. Did you know education is our greatest catalyst for change? The figures from 21 will go up for 22. They're coming out at the end of March. Did you know 15% of young Americans believe holding neo-Nazi views is acceptable? That was on Facebook from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. Additionally, 9% in a new ABC News Washington Post poll call it acceptable to hold neo-Nazi or white supremacist views, equivalent to about 22 million Americans. A similar number, 10%, say they support the so-called alt-right movement, while 50% oppose it.
Can you please tell us the story of what happened to your family in the times of the Holocaust?
Sure. On my father's side, they mostly got out, except for my grandfather, my aunt, his sister, her husband, and the child. They were in France hiding, and they hid their daughter in a convent. Actually, afterwards, they found out it was more dangerous to hide her in the convent, but they didn't know that when they hid her. And I just learned after reviewing her book about Obrador, France, where there was a massacre close to where she was, where the Boche, as they call them, they massacred the city, 642 people, civilians, kids. Anyway, she was right there, close to it. So they had a hideout in the forest. On my mother's side, my grandfather and my eldest uncle got out before the war, just before the war. They were in camps, but they got out of the camps. And they walked from Germany to Portugal and got out that way after the war had started, actually. And then my grandmother and my mother and my other uncle, they got stuck in the camps. First, they went to Riga in the boxcars. My uncle went to Salaspils, which was a death camp, and he was in the Sonderkommando. So they went on the boat from Riga to Gdansk or Danzig, and there was a camp called Stutthof. It wasn't a nice camp, and that's an understatement. And they were around there. My uncle was working on the submarines, and my mother went to a place called Sophienwald. Then it was toward the end of the war, and they were sent on death marches. They weren't together. My grandmother was with my mother, and my uncle ran away into the woods, and there were shots, but he didn't get shot. So that's how he got away. And then my mother was liberated with my grandmother because the Russians came, and then the Germans left.
Horrible
So that's
times.
the story.
Horrible times. Now, I understand that you are one of the speakers and you go to the school and do presentations. Can you tell us what those are like?
I'm making presentations for the schools in Long Beach Unified or to be used elsewhere. The primary one is really the secondary one. It's for high school level, and it's a little gorier. It's concerning my mother's side. It's a PowerPoint presentation. Then I have another PowerPoint that I'm presenting to the middle schools, which is about my father's side. And now I'm preparing the middle school presentation, which is about my father's side and about anti-Semitism in general. And my father's side, including my cousin Josie, who was in the convent. These presentations are PowerPoint presentations. They have a lot of pictures, a lot of background that's broader in context, images from the times, introduction of books, quotes from people, songs that are pertinent. In the high school presentation, there's an audio from my uncle. In the middle school presentation, there's a video from my aunt and uncle, the other uncle, and information from numerous texts, graphs, maps, primary sources, a telegram, photos of the family back then. So I could present this to adult. Yes, and I'm available in Southern California to present to adult mature groups. And I'm available for a farther distance. That's negotiable.
How do persons get in contact with you?
All they have to do is go online to Long Beach Unified, to the Education Foundation, to the Felsenthal Memorial Fund, and they can see my phone number at the bottom of everything, or they can call the Office of Education Foundation.
Now, I understand that persons that are viewing this and listening to your information, that they can also provide and donate funds for it. Could you tell us about that?
Of course, there's a link online where I just described, and all you have to do is push the button.
In what sort of shape is the state of Holocaust education today in our nation?
Well, currently in the United States, 25 states mandate Holocaust education. 5 have permissive statutes. 17 support a Holocaust Education Commission or task force. 4 have legislation pending, and 11 have no legislation regarding Holocaust education. Did you know what happened in Texas? A pliant official telling Texan teachers about a new law advises, if you assign a book about the Holocaust, also assign one that has opposing other perspectives. So we need Holocaust education for sure. You can go to the Moment magazine to find out the state of Holocaust education in America. You can go to Moment magazine to find out the state of Holocaust education in America. It's in the winter issue, 2022. It's online. I'll give you the link. They tell you about Echoes and Reflections, which is great. It's a program that helps teachers to teach about Holocaust education. It gives them a lot of resources. There's Facing History and Ourselves. That's another big program. And then there's a lot of information from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. It has a large budget and it's devoted to helping us teach about the Holocaust. They keep adding more and more resources. For those who see Holocaust education as a vehicle for teaching values, rather than for simply conveying historical information, the picture is even brighter. The ADL survey in 2020 of 1,500 college students with Holocaust education have more pluralistic attitudes and are more open to differing viewpoints. They were also significantly more likely to challenge incorrect or biased information, confront intolerant behavior in others, and stand up to negative stereotyping. So it's great that we know that. It works.
It does work. I appreciate that insight as well. Can you tell us how our viewers can support your program?
Sure. You can go to the link at Long Beach Education Foundation, Felsenthal Memorial Fund for Character and Tolerance Education. And you can push the button that says donate, or you can call the office. The phone number is there, or you can look toward the bottom of all the material, and my phone number is way on the bottom.
Wonderful. Now, on your icon, I saw a picture. It looked like a saw. It was sort of something you hold with 2 hands or something. Can you tell us what that saw represents?
Yes, I'm very glad to have it. It's almost 100 years old. 12-year-old Eric, my father, turned in that saw tool picture to his teacher in class 2A on January 28th, 1933. He drew it and he labeled it Ein Sorgenkind, or problem child. And that was because he couldn't go to his vocational school where he would use that saw. Due to the fact that 2 days later, on January 30th, 1933, President Paul von Hindenburg named Adolf Hitler as the Chancellor of Germany. So then, shortly thereafter, my father left because he didn't have a chance to have a vocational education, and worse, so they knew to get out.
You know, throughout the production of information you've shared it from a perspective of your family. But, you know, if we get a much broader perspective of how so many other people went through similar stories, did not have the opportunity to share them, it's really quite touching. And I think the point that I'm walking away with as we're getting close to closing the show is that those incidents are still active today in our own backyards. It's not something that was in history back in the 1930s. It keeps reoccurring in different ways. We must stay alert, and we must prevent it from expanding, and we must work to contain it and eventually put it aside.
Yes, I I'd like you to know that at the end of my presentation on my mother's side, I have the list of people who were murdered, and it goes on and on and on. The ones that are relatives. I didn't count them. I just kept writing them. They're people and they have names. Okay, so there were many massacres, genocides in the history of the world. Here are just a few: the Rwandan massacre, the Armenian genocide, the Khmer Rouge killing fields in Cambodia. The Holocaust was the best documented and the most talked about now. But Stalin's communist regime did worse, and Mao Zedong's regime.
Yeah, the numbers are huge, and they are deepening, frightening. And I find what's so frightening is that the same mindset is still with us in our communities, in our nation. And there are always forces trying to bring it up to the surface and to reinitiate this kind of horror in our backgrounds.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking with Joan Einstein, and I'm just really, really happy that you're available through the Long Beach School District system, as well as going out and making yourself available to do presentations in our community with students and with adults in the local area and perhaps even further. And I hope our viewers take your invitation to be part of this program and also to look at ourselves and see what else we can do to prevent all this from happening as well. So once again, could you give us your contact information at Long Beach and also your closing statements?
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so glad our friend got us together. If you want to contact me, go to the link on Long Beach Unified's Education Foundation under the Felsenthal Memorial Fund. My phone number is way on the bottom, or you can call the Education Foundation office. You can contribute right there if you want by pushing the button that says donate. But if you'd like to hear the whole presentation, feel free to contact me because I'm here for that. And thank you very much, Armando, for letting the people know about this.
You keep up the great work. I'm just passing on the information, and you're absolutely right. We will once again recognize Pierre Averon for putting us together. And those are the wonderful things about networking, that people bring it, wonderful choices of programs like yours and be able to support it as well. I look forward to having you on the show once again and talk more about the Holocaust and more of the specifics. But thank you for sharing the very difficult story of your family as well. And I challenge, invite, tell the public, be part of it, be proactive. Let's not just sit back and say how terrible. And let's look at ways that we can get involved. And absolutely, please contact Joan. She's been very open. She's been very active about sharing the information with us. So please feel free to contact her. Joan, thank you very much to you and your technical support, i.e. your husband, for putting us together as well.
Thank you.
And look forward to having you on future shows.
Okay, I look forward to it as well.